Alright guys, this is how to simplify rational expressions. So the first one we're going to start with is x squared plus 5x plus 4 over x plus 4. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to factor everything that we can. So you can tell the top is definitely factorable. So if we do our GCF, it's just 1, so we can go to our a times c. So in this case, 1 times 4 gives us 4, factors 4, 1 and 4. 2 and 2. We could also do -1 and -4, -2 and -2. We're going to look at our factors that add to a positive 5 because that is our b value. Okay, so the ones that add to a positive 5 would be 1 and 4. Okay, so we would pick 1 and 4. We would make our parentheses, so x plus 1 and x plus 4. And then we would divide by our a value of 1. So divide by 1. 1 over 1 still is 1. 4 over 1 is still 4. Okay, so that is what our top turns into. So we have x plus 1 and x plus 4. Our bottom, x plus 4, it doesn't have a squared. It doesn't have anything in common, so it's going to stay x plus 4. Okay, and then we're going to look for what's in common. So if it's just one term on the bottom, we can put parentheses around it. You can only cross out after you have factored when the terms are being multiplied. Okay, so you can see x plus 4 and x plus 4 are the same. So they are going to reduce out to 1. And we're going to be left with x plus 1 over 1. Do we really need the over 1? No, so we end up with x plus 1. The last thing we have to do in these problems, so this is part of our answer, the last thing we have to do is find out what, if we plugged it into the original, would give us an error or an undefined value. So the way we do that is we take our factored version, which we didn't have to factor the bottom. So we take our bottom at x plus 4 and we set it equal to 0. To solve it, you would subtract 4. So we get x equals -4. However, that's actually cannot equal -4. So if we plugged -4 into the bottom, we would end up with a 0. We don't really even care what we would get on top, which I think is 0 anyways. But so our answer is what's left over, and then what x cannot equal. So x cannot equal -4. Okay, so those are both parts of our answers. So if we want to write it together, x plus 1, comma, or semicolon, and x can't equal -4. Okay. Second one, a little bit harder. We have 3x cubed minus 3x squared, x cubed minus x. So this one, we would look 3 and 3. We can definitely pull out a 3. X cubed and x squared, you can pull out the lowest exponent. So in this case, x squared. We're going to be left with x minus 1. Just be careful, you started with 2 terms, so in the parentheses should be 2 terms when you factor out. Same thing with the bottom. We're going to factor out the lowest exponent, which is an x. We're left with x squared minus 1. All right, so let's talk about our parentheses. So for this one, we have x minus 1. X is to the first power. There's no more GCF, so the top is factored. The bottom, we have an x squared and a -1, which is a difference of squares, so we can go further. We can factor it as if there was a 0 for our b value. Okay, so we would do our a times c. 1 times -1 is -1. Factor it out. Our only factors are 1 and -1 in whatever order you want. We would make our parentheses, x plus 1, x minus 1, again in whatever order you want, divide by our a value of 1, and we still get x plus 1, x minus 1. So this factors a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to rewrite. So we have 3x squared, x minus 1, over x, and then x plus 1, x minus 1. All right, so once we're factored, we're going to look for the same things on the top and the bottom. So we have x minus 1 definitely cancels. And then if we think about what x squared is, so 3x squared is really just 3x times x over x. So we can actually cancel one of our x's also. Okay, so we're going to be left with a 3x on the top, and on the bottom, we're going to be left with an x plus 1. Okay, we don't need those parentheses, so I'm going to get rid of them. Okay, now a couple things. We cannot reduce the x's because there is a plus sign in the middle. So remember, the only time you get to cross out is when there's multiplication on both sides. Right? And then last, we need to do our excluded values. So we're going to look at our factored form of the denominator, and we're going to set every part equal to 0. So x equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. So we get x cannot equal 0, x cannot equal -1, and x cannot equal 1. So again, I'm just going to put that next to my answer. I'm going to shorthand it a little bit. So I have positive and -1. And that is our final answer for simplifying that problem.